This video may contain minor bouts of violence, dirty language, and many shenanigans. Your discretion is advised.
Hey guys, it's Ol McStudley back with you today. Today I want to talk about something that I feel like a person has to really hear about in detail and know about me in order to know me and how I am and who I am. It's a moment that's kind of defined a lot of who I am at this point, and it's the tractor accident. I've touched on that a little bit, but today I'm going to tell you how it all happened, and because I just kind of need to tell somebody. This accident has weighed on me really heavy. It's a person would think that if you got a second chance at life, you had a miraculous event save your life, you had another miraculous event that healed your body after that, you would think that a person would be running around just enjoying every minute of life, happy all the time, making the most of every minute. And I want to be, I should be. All the things that I regretted the night that I thought I died are all things that I still don't seem to have the power to change. And it's like, and I don't know what it is. My body more or less healed, but something's still broken, something besides my body. And I've got to figure out what that is. And hopefully the trail is going to do that. But I was coming up this hill right here on my Kubota. It's a 4400 Kubota. You know what that is? I had a tandem axle car hauler trailer that I was using to haul logs. I was being a dumbass, working all day and then working most of the night too, logging by myself. Wintertime, nighttime, by myself, tractor, chainsaw. Just pretty much had it coming. But I was coming up this hill, and at that time, this was about a year ago, this hill was really badly washboarded out. And something that I didn't know in my inexperience with the tractor was that such a heavy trailer with the tongue so far out on the tractor ball and the washboards, it kind of made the trailer hit a resonant frequency to where it was bouncing higher and higher, and I didn't realize that it was doing that because on the tractor you can't really feel it until it's too late. And it came down hard on the front of that trailer, and it bucked the front of my tractor like about 70 degrees, vertical. And because the road was tilted a little bit to the side, they've improved it a lot now, but the road was kind of sloped this way too, and because that was the direction that the tractor wanted to go, gravity just kicked the front end of that tractor over and down this hillside. Well, what this hillside actually is, so this is what's at the end of that hill. That very steep, like, if you point the camera back up there for a second, Patrick, so we can see the angle on that slope. Yeah. That's like a 60-degree slope, would you say? Uh-huh. Anything that's going down that has a lot of momentum, and it's, gravity is plenty to take something down that.
And it comes straight down this 60-degree slope to about, I'd say that's about a 300-foot drop-off, huh?
Oh, no.
No?
It ain't 300. It's probably
100, yeah.
But, look down that way, and it kind of gives you a perspective of really how high we are.
Yeah, that's the river.
And this whole cliff line, it goes in and out, and some places are worse than others, and there's trees in some places that may or may not stop a tractor. But when you're plowing
down... That's a railroad bridge off in the distance, and we're up higher than it is right now, so...
But when you're plowing down into that in the middle of the night, and you can't see... there's no good scenario of dice rolls that involve this cliff and a tractor. So the tractor actually did come to rest against that little tree. I'm not sure how, because I can normally push a tree like that with the tractor on flat ground, so push the tree out. So, but in any case, you're not gonna. I wasn't going to take a gamble on if one of those trees might stop me or what the trailer might do if it did manage to stop me at that speed with a, you know, a trailer behind you, but a heavy ass trailer. But I knew immediately as soon as that thing bucked up and started turning right in the air that I needed off that tractor. And that's why I don't wear a seatbelt on a tractor, because I want to be able to bail. I get to that because my bail was not graceful as I had planned it, because I stood up on the platform to bail, and right when I went to do that, I didn't know exactly where we were at on the road or have any way to know until it was happening that there's a 90-degree drop off right here. And right after 90-degree drops off, there's a big ass rock, a big piece of concrete right there. So the front tire of my tractor, which is only like this big around, took like a 60-degree nosedive into that, and then bucked it straight up into the air. When it hit that, it just like ricocheted it back into the air. And that was what it did right when I went to jump off of it. And it slingshotted me into the canopy, which is a 2-inch piece of tube steel. And it just bounced me off of that and back down in front of the tire. And I was about, by then the tractor had traveled to, let's see, where was it? Here. Okay, so here is where I landed after that thing bounced me off the canopy. And it, right after it bounced me off the, it bounced me off the canopy so hard that it was like a ricochet of a bullet. It shot me straight back down in front of the same big ass tire that I was trying to get away from. And that thing ran me down. It basically ran my whole body over, and then a split second later both axles of the trailer did the same. And they crushed me pretty good between this stuff here. But when the tractor came to rest on that, the trailer was still pinning me, but it wasn't crushing me anymore. So it wasn't killing me still, but I was still wedged under it, and I had to get out from under it. It was a day about as cold as this too. It was a night about as cold as this. I was in a t-shirt because I'm cold-natured, and I was going logging. I was planning on working up a good sweat. And the Carhartt was on the tractor, so was my cell phone, but that was as good as a million miles away. And somehow I managed to get out from under that axle, and it broke my pelvis in about 5 pieces. My back was broken in 2 places badly. I got big bolts in it still, and broke most of the ribs on one whole side. I had this big piece of wood about like the size and shape of a banana that was stabbed into my thigh here, all the way into the thick of it, about that deep in, a hole like that. And I had 2 different head injuries, one from bouncing off the canopy of the tractor, which is a pretty bad one, but the worst one was when the axles ran my head over with this stuff that was here. Fractured my shoulder blade, broke my ankle, my knee, just, I don't even know. That's just in general, just pretty much banged everything up, internal bleeding and just all kinds of other jazz. And I couldn't feel my legs at that time. And I assumed I was paralyzed, but either way, I still had to get to help. And because I knew that with the cold, I was probably gonna die if I didn't get help quick. And so I had to drag myself up this hill. But you can see, even with a healthy body and, in more ideal circumstances,
Imagine being down here.
that it would be a difficult climb on your belly. Actually, I made it on my back, but I just sat and scooted myself up this hill a little bit at a time, and every time I pushed up, it was like the top half of my body would move, the bottom half of my body wouldn't move, and everything in the middle was like a very painful crunching bag of gravel. And after about, when the shock wore off, about the time when I realized what was going on, that was when I'd say that the shock was worn off, because I don't know how long I was under the axles before that happened, but it was like I woke up there, and then I was thinking clearly, and I knew I had to get the help. So there's some cabins down the hill, and 2 families lived in 2 different cabins all the way at the bottom of the hill at that time, and there's a church camp over here. It's a little less distance than the cabins, but it's uphill.
But both distances are probably close to a half a mile. I mean,
right, and it took me the
direction.
better part of about. This is about probably about. I left at about 10. The accident happened at about 10 at night. About 11 o'clock at night, I had finally dragged myself out from under the trailer, unwedged myself, and got myself from there up to just on top of this, right here, right about here. It'd take me an hour to get there. And at that rate, I was going to freeze to death far before I could get to either one of those two places. So the whole time that this is happening...
That's about 20 feet, folks.
I'm trying my best to scream for somebody to help me, but it's a half-hearted at best because everything's broken. I can't, there's just not that much volume to expel like that. I just couldn't be as loud as I wanted to. Or maybe I just thought I wasn't because I was scared, but it took me like I say, an hour to get right here, and I finally heard a car coming up this hill. I was like, thank God I'm safe. And the car came, and it was one of these church camp kids, teenagers that live up here with their folks, and they're known to be the last people on this quiet little road to come home at night, on the especially the weekdays like that. I mean, they're going to be the late night guys. Nobody's coming after them. And this guy, he didn't even see me because look how far down we are from the road level. And I'm on the ground, and even though I have my hands up and I'm trying to yell, he's thumping the radio, and he just went right past me. So that was pretty heartbreaking, but didn't have any choice but to keep going up and try to drag myself to the cabin or the church camp. And it took me about another hour because this is a lot more of...
They saw. They just saw you climbing up there freaking fresh.
To get right here. And I was like this when a second car, the other one of those kids, came by, and I was yelling and had my hand up like this, and he went bumping right on by. Did not even see me. He was probably texting. And that was whenever it really started to sink in. Holy shit! It just took me 2 hours to come about 25 feet, and I've got to go about.
Actually.
And I've got to go about 600 yards before I freeze to death and die of these injuries. So I realized at that point that wasn't going to happen. It just wasn't physically possible. It would, at the rate it took me to get this far, it had taken me 3 days to climb that to go either one of those places. And the last of the help had, the yelling, screaming had not given any help. And the two guys that had driven past in their cars didn't see me, and I knew that those were the last two people that would be down this road that night, and that by morning I would be dead and frozen. So that was when I started to try to accept that, and thinking about my life and thinking about things that I had started that were just basically going to fade away because I wasn't there to finish them. And how did I teach my kids all the things I wanted to teach them? Was I as good to my wife as I felt like I should have been? Was I as good to my mother and my sister, my friend? Like, what kind of person was I? And I was pretty happy with what kind of person I was, but I still had disappointments in all areas, and some of them bigger than others. And I'm laying up here trying to come to terms with all that, and I finally did. The entire time that this accident was going on, I could feel what I can only describe as a life force, and it was getting smaller throughout the time. And by the time that I got up here and was thinking about the reality that it was the end, it had gotten very small, and it was almost out, and I knew it. And I took the last few minutes to say goodbye to my kids and my wife and my best friends, and it was rage and desperation and everything all at once, and I begged to the Great Spirit don't get sidetracked that I say the Great Spirit. It's the same thing as what you all might call God or maybe Allah. It's the same thing. We're not going to argue about the differences. But I called out to the Great Spirit and begged to somehow save me, to give me a second chance to finish those things and to right the things that I felt like were wrong when to give me a chance to fix the things that I was regretting in the moment of my death. And after being out here for 2 hours, and believe me, you get a chance to feel just exactly what it feels like to have a broken everything, because the shock wears off and the endorphins have been long gone, and it is just but I begged for a chance to set right all the things that I felt like I had not done adequately. And after 2 hours of being up here in all that pain, I finally begged for help from the one place where I could really get it. And here's what happened at that exact moment. My friend Zach and his girlfriend were one of the families that lived in one of those cabins all the way down there. I had been yelling for 2 hours. Apparently, about an hour into it, they were outside smoking and had heard some yelling up the hill, but they had decided that it was the church kids up the hill partying, and didn't really pay much mind to it. Well, at that exact moment that I called out and begged for a second chance, Zach's girlfriend said, "Babe, maybe it wasn't some church kids partying up there. Maybe somebody was hollering help. I think maybe somebody might have been hollering help. Why don't you get in the car and go see?" 2 minutes later, 2 minutes after being up here for 2 hours, 2 minutes later, he was literally pulling up next to me. And when I realized who it was just made it even better. I was like, "Zach, oh my God, I was like, is your car warm?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Put me in it now. Put me in the back of it now." He said, "Buddy, I can't move you. You're broken bad." And I said, "Zach, if you don't put me in that car right now, it ain't gonna matter 5 minutes from now, because on top of everything else, I was about to freeze to death, and I couldn't continue to fight those injuries if I was freezing to death." And I was right there at it. But he picked me up because I told him he had to. And when he did, that was when I started feeling my legs again, which wasn't necessarily a good thing at that time, except in principle. And then Zach drove me he got my wife, and then she drove me to the hospital. And that was when we started that whole...
Where's the nearest hospital?
Huh?
How close is the nearest hospital?
25 minutes.
Rolla.
And his car was out of gas, so she had to stop at a gas station to get gas. But she realized that she started pumping gas that she didn't have her wallet, because she left in a panic, because Zach had come in the house and said, "Ronnie, you got to get Chris to the hospital. He's dying." She runs out of the house, gets in the car, and handles business. But she thinks about not having her wallet then, and had to go in and tell the cashier, "Hey, my husband's dying in the back of the car, but I got to get in, I got to get some gas." And after Rolla, I had to get transported up to Mizzou to the trauma unit. But I spent a week there, and I spent a week in the nursing home. It was supposed to be a month, but basically I had to get myself to where my arms were strong enough to where I could at least help myself some, get around, and then just rely on Ronnie for the rest. And then I spent some time on a walker and some time on some crutches, and now here I am. Not much worse for the wear, except for a little backache occasionally, and something in here that is still broken, and I aim to try to fix that on the trail. A friend, there's a lesson to be had in all this that I hadn't seen before. until I was talking with a friend of mine, Frank, the other day, and he said guardian angels, and I said, well, if it was guardian angels, why would they let me lay out there for 2 hours? Why wouldn't they just send help straight away? He said, when did you ask for help? That was a cold moment. I was the stubborn asshole that laid out here for 2 hours because I didn't beg for help. I was too proud to beg for help until I realized that it was the end. And then I realized, holy shit, I do need help. I can't do everything myself. And I begged for it, and that was the moment that I was saved. So there is a little bit of a lesson in that for me, because I am very stubborn. And it's very likely that what he said is 100% accurate, and that I laid out here entirely for 2 hours through an entire fault of my own by just being too damn stubborn to beg for help until that time. Well, guys, I just shared the most personal experience in my life at this point. And I appreciate you watching, because me telling it is therapeutic for me, and I'm hoping that I find what I'm missing while I'm on the trail. It's Ol McStudley, out.